Okay, so welcome to this event at ESCP Business School. This is an event organized with Web3 Talent Fair and the Curious Society, the blockchain club of the ESCP. We are going to talk about the NFTs and the impact on the creator economy and on marketing strategy tonight. I'm very happy to welcome Ethan and John from the NFT Factory, who both have some side business that they are going to explain about. And also Roca from Metafight, stunning NFT and Web3 game in the field of the MMA fighting. I am Benoit Koulechard from Good and Web3 Talent Fair. Ethan, would you like to present yourself, present your project?
Sure. So I'm the token Anglophone, so that's great, but I actually live here as well, so Paris is home. It's fun to get to do one of these things in English, so that way you don't have to hear my terrible accent. Yeah, the very short version of what I do is so I had a couple different digital marketing and e-commerce companies in the US, and then in France, and then in Singapore that I sold along the way. That got me into venture capital and a fund in Hong Kong for a couple of years, even though I've been based in Paris for quite a while. And for the past, I guess that got me into crypto maybe around 2015, because I was in Hong Kong and Singapore, and it was relevant for some of the discussions that were going on, so it kind of pulled me in. When I left that fund, I started the Crypto Assets Institute, which is just an advisory that helps corporates and individuals understand the importance and the opportunities within the blockchain economy and now Web3. But my main activity is Borderless Ventures, which is based in Singapore, and Tallinn in Estonia, which is a family office and more importantly, a syndicate-focused firm. Syndicates, so not the French version of the word, but what a syndicate means in venture capital is I take all the small tickets that are potentially untouchable by a startup because they're too small, whether it's €1,000 up to the minimum, so maybe they're raising $500,000, smallest ticket's 50K, 80K to get into that investment. I'll take €1,000 up to 50,000, and I'll take all those small tickets and wrap them into one single investment that I'll make into the startup. So it's still venture capital, but it's instead of me having money from a fund that I've found LPs for, I'm actually finding the startups and then going and finding the money in certain ways. So that's my main activity, but I have the chance, but also it's on purpose, that I speak at over 80 events a year, and MC Web Summit's Crypto Stage, for example, or tons of big events around the world as a way. It's a lot of networking opportunities for me, visibility opportunities. And one of the things that comes through that is meeting amazing people along the way. A couple years ago, a friend, Luc Jaudet, who was one of the co-founders of the NFT Factory, I invited him to a conference in Latvia, and I'm like, yeah, I heard about this NFT Factory thing that's launching in Paris. Curious. I didn't hear about this NFT Factory thing launching in Paris. He goes, don't worry about it, we're going to have more co-founders. So I was lucky enough to get to be a part of this amazing thing that John and Jean-Michel Payon and 128 of us eventually co-founded, called the NFT Factory. France is kind of Web3 HQ, headquarters, and also one of the most important, I think, curating organizations for fine digital art now in the world that has had this wonderful space across from Pompidou to be able to showcase that. So lots of little hats, but they all kind of circle back to the same thing. How do creators, people, individual brands, corporate brands, how do they leverage things like the Web3 kind of tool stack that we'll talk about, generative AI and other things, to really move forward brand marketing and community engagement. Those are the big topics that I like to talk about. So I think we'll get to talk about some of that, but I'll let John jump in.
Thank you, Ethan. So it's in English, so you will have the chance to hear my beautiful accent. So basically, thank you, for this panel first. Happy to be here. My background is a tech event, actually. I co-founded a company called Be My App in France and known as hackathon.com in the US. And I've been organizing 1,000 hackathons basically in like 58 countries or something like this. And during COVID, I started to be a bit tired about event. So it was a moment where I started to discover NFTs, and I started to collect NFTs. I realized I knew the blockchain before. I organized a lot of blockchain events, but before that, it was not really, I didn't fall deeply and crazingly into this rabbit hole, and it happened really at this moment when I started, discovering art first, and artists, and I realized that at this moment, something crazy, was happening. Digital art, was becoming a market, and I had the chance, to be early into this market, and so it was super, super interesting. So I started to dig and dig and dig and discover artists and collecting. And so when NFTs became something in early 2021, I launched a podcast called NFT Morning. It's a French podcast, a daily podcast that we are still doing. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, so it's like 670-ish episodes so far, and still running. And so in the same time, I launched a book called NFT Revolution to also explain NFTs. And so, all of this stuff, it was actually the perfect momentum, because we started all of this just 1 week before people did this 70 million sales at Christie's. And so it helped us to kind of gather a community of artists, creators, investors, collectors, entrepreneurs into this Web3 world. And thanks to this community, it helped us to, initiate, even if it came from a lot of different sources, this NFT Factory movement. And I see it as a movement also, really, with these 128 founders, with this mission of democratizing NFTs, to the crowd with IRL, presence. That was really important for us. And in the same time, I created an event, a conference. Even if I was tired with event, I came back to my first love. And so we organize every year this conference called Non Fungible Conference, NFC Summit, happening. So the next edition will happen now on May 28, 29, and 30 in Lisbon, Portugal. And the idea is to really bring the culture of Web3 at the highest level of what you can do during an event. So art, fashion, gaming, but with a strong scenographic approach, strong way of, basically, we have this strong idea of Web3 tries to revolutionize every kind of business. And as an event organizer, we should also change the way you're organizing an event. So it should not just be like panels, exhibition, all, and that's it. You should do something else. And this is what we are trying to do. And on top of it, this year, we are hosting a conference inside a conference called the MemeCon. So the first conference in the world dedicated to meme tokens. And invite you to join. And it's pretty, for me, it's one of the most interesting events happening, at least in Europe in those days. My friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. I will also speak in English, so you will also hear my specific accent. For me, so I'm Roca. I spent 19 years in the Air Force intelligence branch, so nothing to do with the blockchain technology, that's all. I started to learn about cryptocurrencies in 2020. First of all, it was all about speculation, of course, and then I decided to dig in, and I began a content creator career. That's how I met Thomas, the COO and co-founder of Metafight, and now I'm working as an advisor in public relations in the Metafight society.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about Metafight?
Yes, Metafight is a game, first of all. We have three acts based on 3 axes. The first one is the digital collectible card game. The second one is a game, of course. With the card you collect, you can play. And the third one is the metaverse. We are broadcasting fights in the metaverse, live events. So we have a partnership with the two organizations to broadcast the fight. So you can join with your friend and see some live fight with our metaverse experience. And now we are launching our Metafight experience, and it's a big world project that you will learn soon enough.
Thank you very much for these presentations. So let's dig into our topics of today. So we are going to talk about NFTs, but before that, I'd like to have a definition of what is the creator economy. Ethan?
Yeah, so the creator economy is something that's been moving the past couple of years before Web3 really came in as a opportunity to make that even bigger. So, but that's why Web3 is going to matter so much, is what it brings. Creator economy is just the fact that anybody at this point in time can take out their phone or their laptop. They can go on YouTube, Insta, they can go to Substack and start a newsletter, they can create a podcast, they can do all of these different ways where they create content. Or maybe they're a digital artist, or the idea is that at this point in time, the creator economy, well, it runs on this idea of 1,000 true fans is a lot of what we talk about with the creator economy. And what that idea means is that we live in a world of 8 billion people. If 1,000 people in the world think what you're doing is cool enough to give you $5 a month, you make $60,000 a year. The idea there is we're not talking about Mr. Beast and making hundreds of millions of dollars on YouTube or things like this. What we're talking about is that we now have technology that allows people who are creative, and that doesn't necessarily mean art or other things, although that's great that it does as well. But it means that somebody who has an expertise can start a podcast, can start a newsletter, or digital artists can now create art and sell it. A musician can now do things. The amount of musicians on YouTube and Instagram that make crazy amount of money, although it's not necessarily about them making crazy amounts, but the ability for them to create a business or some kind of revenue stream using these tools and not just have to do it the old way, whatever that is, because so many of the old ways of doing things haven't worked out very well anymore. For musicians can only make money professionally if they tour at this point, because streaming pays nothing. And artists, for example, that's a highly curated environment that's very difficult to break into. Digital art, so people who are leveraging all of these new tools that are available, that's an even more complicated thing because it's new. When we look at journalism, how many journalists lost their jobs because of the internet thing that happened to newspapers and magazines or other things? And yet there are now more people with a paid, with a subscription, well, a free but subscription-based community on like Substack. There are more people making six-figure revenues as journalists with a Substack newsletter than there are journalists making six figures in the United States. Like, we've seen it shift, where people can take an expertise, they can take a skill set, and they can now do that in front of a community that cares about them. And again, it's not necessarily about making millions, but if you can find 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 5,000 people who love enough what you create to give you a little bit of money every month or every year, you start to get to a point where you're making a middle-class income, an upper middle-class income, something that can be livable based on your creativity, however that is defined. And I find that to just be magnificent, the fact that we've now moved into this place where whatever it is that your passion is, you can now find a way to educate others, to entertain others, and create a lifestyle job out of that. And I think that's fantastic. Web3 adds a whole new layer because the creator economy runs off the idea that you build community around you as a creator. Well, Web3, its base definition in a lot of ways with tools, especially when we're talking about NFTs or other things, is community. It's about the ability to have a digital asset that links you directly to a community in some way or to an organization in some way. And that removes the intermediaries of, it's not just a question of now having how many people follow me on YouTube but are following me through YouTube or through Instagram or through Substack or through the podcast on Spotify or whatever, we're very quickly coming to a place where people will have NFTs or digital passes or other things, whether it's a big musician like Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift, whether it's artists, whether it's all these people creating all this other content, where the way that you are going to connect with them is potentially through an NFT or some kind of a digital asset that ties you to them. And now when you go from platform to platform, instead of logging into Spotify and seeing your Spotify stuff, and then when you log into Apple Music, you don't see anything. Well, when you connect to Spotify with your digital wallet and you've got the NFTs of the artists that you love there, well, when you connect over on Apple Music with the same wallet, you'll have all the same stuff. And that's going to be a really interesting change in the way that this works. And it allows for all kinds of interesting things where if you want to follow somebody on YouTube, but you also want to follow them on Instagram, but also on TikTok, but also on Snapchat, we start adding all these things, or now Twitter videos. If there was a way to have that without the intermediary, to have a digital wallet that contains your connecting points to all of these things that you love, well, now you just connect to those platforms with your wallet and you will be able to connect to all those things you already like, and now it becomes less about the platform. And now we've removed the intermediary. And so this wonderful thing that's happened, there are estimates that there are between 80 and 100 million people making, I wouldn't say a living off of the creator economy, but not nothing off of that. And there's definitely, the numbers are between 20 and 30 million people who make their living just off of some of these things are kind of hard to measure to find out really exactly what people are making, but it's not nothing. And I find that to be a fascinating idea, that we've moved to a place where the internet is finally letting individuals, and not just platforms or corporations, but individuals be able to create a living based off of what they're good at and what we've done in their life. So I just find that to be incredible. And the things that they can add about how Web3 will add a layer to that is this next really cool layer that we're running into.
Yeah, I would be very interested to know the name of some platforms that provide some platform for the Web3 community to connect to those artists and to be able to skip intermediaries.
We're not there yet. That's the problem. So what we're having to do is use things like Discord or other places where you can connect with wallets. But the point is that if you look at platforms like a Spotify, like a Deezer, they all have a VP of Web3. They're all working really hard to make this happen because it helps them engage more with community. Believe, which is another French unicorn that helps artists. It's actually the tool that it's the most used tool helping musicians publish their music to the streaming services and then to receive and distribute the streaming commissions. That's a French company. They also have a VP of Web3. Why? Because their business model is enabling creators to monetize their creativity, and the Web2 version is what they had. The Web3 version is coming, and we're not there yet because you can't connect to most of these services with a wallet, but it's already happening. Spotify has beta testing now where you can have private playlists that people can open, basically unlock, because they have an NFT that belongs to a specific artist. We can call it a digital pass, we can call it whatever. It doesn't have to be NFT if that word is confusing or bothersome to people. Ticketmaster, the largest ticketing outlet in the world, has a functionality now that they are testing where you can connect with your wallet, and if you have an NFT of a specific artist, you get first in line ticketing. What that means is that all the Swifties who wanted Taylor Swift tickets and got screwed whenever the system opened up and it crashed because all the bots were buying all the tickets and it's problematic. Well, actually, when you go to first in line ticketing through NFTs, the first people in line aren't the people clicking the button real fast or the bots. They're the people who have a Taylor Swift NFT in their wallet. And they get to buy their tickets. And when they're done, everybody else gets to buy their tickets. There's really cool stuff like that is being tested, that is out there. It's just, it will take its time. But yeah, we're getting there. It's all this idea that your digital wallet will contain all the stuff of your life. But right now, it's all kind of new. There are universities, not this one yet, but others that will, but this one will as well, that your diplomas will be issued also as an NFT. because the big words we use for that is authenticity and proof of authenticity and proof of ownership. If you can prove that something is real and that it belongs to you in a digital way, that's really cool. Diplomas, that's pretty cool. So there's tons of examples, but I want to give the microphone away. But the idea is, unfortunately, all the dream of this is something that the reality is there, but the platforms have to play the game and add these functions in. They're in the process of doing it, but it doesn't exist a lot yet.
Okay, so my next question is more for you, but you can also add a complement to that.
There are some experimentations right now. Maybe one of the most mature social media, based on NFTs and Web3, maybe right now is a Farcaster that is like a pretty interesting thing because it has been built for the last few years, and the protocol is pretty open. Everyone connect the wallet, and there are a lot of, it's really developer oriented, so a lot of people, instead of just posting what is proposed by Instagram or Twitter, that is an image, a video, a GIF, or an audio, whatever, they can create their own cast, and a cast can be a program. It could be a way to mint, for example, NFT. It happened for example, like 2 days ago, one key artist called XCopy, thanks to this process, he's been selling 1 million NFTs. It sold 1 million NFTs for $5 each, but 1 million. It's crazy, and it was released in one click. Anyone was able, to mint this NFT. It was on the second layer base protocol. And but I think it's kind of historical. It's the first NFT to go to this quantity, and it's touched masses. It's not only people. You didn't need any technical knowledge, to do that. And Farcaster was one of the way, because it's based on the same blockchain, to mint directly in the post and to get it directly here. But you have much more smart connection because it's what Ethan is describing. We'll come back to that actually. But the fact that the social media knows what you own, because it's connected with your wallet, automatically will connect you with people with the same interest. Automatically, you will see, people when you click on a profile, you see what he owns, and it's at the end of the day much more powerful that just some algorithm that give you that do some matchmaking for some reason you don't know why. And so I don't say that it's mature so far, it's just the beginning, but it's super interesting.
Yeah, concerning Farcaster, I heard about it like a month ago when I was in US, and I could see that there's a very strong adoption in the Web3 community to this tool. And here in France, in Europe, is not as known as there, but I'm sure that that's an interesting tool, as you said, like to integrate directly the Web3 through the frames, to what I have understood, directly to the user experience.
But I believe you will have both. On one hand, every main social media don't want to miss this opportunity, even if sometime Web3 could have kind of this ideology also to change the business model of social media. But traditional social media, I think maybe I will come to what is an NFT. So because it was a question, and so then we can come back to that. I think Ethan introduced it super well already. But basically, what he explained was that the creator economy was a revolution when it appeared. The ability to upload, YouTube, MySpace. You are the person in charge of doing something, and anyone can do it. So it was really the idea of Web 2 actually. When it has been launched, internet was moving from something vertical, where basically it was only media, giving information to people, to something horizontal, where anyone was able to contribute. And so most of the content that we see aujourd'hui on the internet is social, is shared by someone. Then, you know, the point about moving to Web3 is the question of value. It means that, yeah, in many situations, especially I will talk about maybe on main social media like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, most of the value, you know, is managed, is going at the end of the day, you know, to the platform, and most of the data is going also to the platform, and so, you know, the idea of Web3 is like to take the control back on your own asset in terms of data. And when it's data, it's not only private data, but also all the content that you create, the article, the post, when you do a thread on Twitter, when you do a video, when you do a live, all these things, you know, the question of the ownership is asked, you know, by Web3, and also, the private data. So that's kind of related. And so, you know, the thing about NFT, I don't want to talk about what is non-fungible token, because I think, you know, this definition is not the best at the end of the day. What is NFT is just, you know, to make it simple, a certificate, a proof of ownership of a digital asset. So this is the thing. And when we talk about what is a digital asset, it can be anything. But, you know, at the end of the day, it could be an artwork, so a digital artwork, that you have the proof that you are the unique owner of this digital asset, even if anyone can copy it, you know, it's on the blockchain that you are the only owner of this. If it's a skin on a video game, it means that you are the owner of this skin. If it's a land in the metaverse, it means that you are the owner of this. Or if it's a wearable, you are the owner. And what does it change for every market? It's a big change because we became digital. We are already buying a lot of digital assets. You know, when you play a Candy Crush, you know, you are paying more virtual candies to play more. You are playing with digital assets, basically. Or, you know, I use this example every time, but Fortnite makes $6 billion a year with skins. So this is like, you know, this example. Yeah. For me, no, but, you know, every year I say, okay, maybe it will be less, and every year it's bigger. It's crazy. So, you know, everybody is buying a lot of skins, but they do not own it. And it's something that will change, because we can see now a lot of games, now they hide it a bit because it's not really popular in the game industry, you know, to say that you are Web3. But most of the games, they are enabling, in a way, this kind of idea of, instead of having just a Fortnite system, where basically you buy a skin, but you're not the real owner, because being the real owner should be the same that you know, this or my scarf or my T-shirt, I can do whatever I want. If I want to go on eBay to sell it, I can sell it. If I want to burn it, I can burn it. If I want to give it to you, or to just exchange it with someone, I can do it. This is ownership. If tomorrow, you know, the shop where I acquired this is closing, I can still use it. It's not the case with the skin that you're buying on Fortnite. You know, the skin, tomorrow, okay, you will say, yeah, but they cannot die. Okay, maybe they cannot die, but who knows? You know, in 50 years from now, maybe they will close for some reason. Or maybe, you know, just an update of the game will say you cannot use this asset anymore. Or maybe...
That's the story of Vitalik Buterin, right? With his sword in the game. Yeah.
World of Warcraft, yeah. Yeah, so this is exactly the idea. Yeah, you know, I actually, you know, there are a lot of connections, and a lot of people from the gaming industry ended up in the blockchain world, because I know a lot of people, you know, playing all their life to all their years to World of Warcraft. At the moment they say, okay, no, I will sell my account and have to go on eBay. It's forbidden. And you never know what's going to happen. You will be scammed, or you will scam. You will do anything, and it's not. And so the idea behind that is all the investment you're doing into a game. You can buy asset, or you can earn asset by playing. You are becoming the real owner of this asset, and so you should be able, to keep them as all the asset that we are owning. And I think it's really strong. Because internet is recent, so we don't realize how much, we don't realize that so far because, a lot of companies came and they provided services and that's it. But, I think in terms of architecture and infrastructure of how the web will be in 20, 30 years from now, the principle of ownership will be central. And this is why, NFTs, and moreover, the blockchain will create a new architecture of the web in the future.
It's very clear, thank you.
Yes, just want to add something about, you talked about World of Warcraft. It's a Blizzard Activision game. The best example for it is Warzone, some mod from Call of Duty. In Warzone, all the skin you bought in Warzone 1, you cannot use it in Warzone 2 because of the update, like you said, John. So it is a real problem. And NFTs is a tool to bring back ownership to users. That's very important. You talked about Taylor Swift with the music. Snoop Dogg has a partnership with Gala. Gala, it's a Web3 company. They are making game, but they are making also Gala Music and Gala Film, where the user can run a node and you can buy some music NFTs, host it on your node, and then you will earn some revenue from streaming it. So yes, I think the best example is Warzone 1 and Warzone 2. So you cannot transfer the skin from a Warzone 1 to Warzone 2.
Yeah, talking about gaming, it's a good introduction to Metafight.
Yeah.
And how do you use the NFTs in this game? How central is it for you in your strategy and for your community? And what are the advantages of using NFT for you?
Yes, like I said, for us, NFT is just a tool. It's a tool to help us to bring our game on the table. When I speak about NFTs, I have two words popping in my head. It's the first one is ownership, of course. You really own your asset. So in Metafight, you really own your fighter card. And then you can play with this card. You can earn some reward from it while doing some fights. And the second word is uniqueness. Each NFT is one of a kind. It depends on the rarity. For us, for example, we have 511 NFTs for each fighters, so with different rarities. And we also have one unique card per fighter. So this is typically the word popping in my head is uniqueness and ownership.
Okay, and how do you use it to enhance your strategy to to engage your community to the game?
We are using NFTs. I don't know if I can say it, but as a marketing product also, because we all know the old-fashioned way is to distribute some goodies, but now with digital asset you can use it with NFTs, for example, and you can drop cards for the user to have some newcomers in your game, and you will not have to, because of the goodies, physical goodies, you will have to be in the same room with the user. But now with NFTs and digital asset, you can spend and you can distribute it all around the world like this. So that this is why how we use NFTs in Metafight.
Okay. So I have a question that is related to that, and it's for all of you. I mean, the one who wants to respond is it's about how NFTs are a game changer in marketing strategy, or can become a game changer.
This is a wonderful subject because it's the main talk I give, and actually will be a book later this year, is called Web3 and the future of brand marketing. Because the amazing ways that this just touches so many things, because if brands are basically, brand marketing is basically building a community or creating and continuing to develop the relationship that you have with your fans or your customers or however those are defined. It's different for a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or than it is for Louis Vuitton, but you still have this, whether it's a fan or a customer, this idea of that. And so when we look at marketing because of Web3, well, we've got all kinds of really interesting ways that can apply. If we look at the whole digital collectible space, then there are digital collectibles that exist just on their own, like your monkey JPEGs with Bored Apes, or maybe on the Pudgy Penguins, which are now a huge phenomenon in the space, where it starts really just as a digital collectible. But then you also have digital collectibles that come from some other thing, like the video games or things like that. So there's one way that we're seeing brands really start to reach out and is through digital collectibles. We see Mercedes that created a series. We see Louis Vuitton that's had a bunch of different ones. We see Yves Saint Laurent that's on their fourth, coming up to their fifth version of NFTs related to specific perfumes that they've launched. And they're doing that as a way to connect with their community, their customers and their fans. So some of that might be rewards and loyalty programs. For some of these brands, it's a new way to do rewards and loyalty. So you have Air Baltic, for example, in Europe. You also have Lufthansa. You have Etihad and other airlines that are now basically completely redoing their rewards programs to be based around NFTs, having this asset that connects you to them. You have Partouche Casinos, for example, in France, in Western Europe, that is building out their idea of their Joker Club, their community based around having these assets. So rewards and loyalty is a big one. All the luxury brands, all the fashion brands, they are all about having fans and customers who are extremely motivated to buy and to collect those products. So they are very early in on, and some of the biggest movers in the space right now around that. So for them, a big part of their marketing is focused on how do we continue to create community around our products, exclusivity maybe and other things, but how do we relate to our public? So fashion and luxury is another huge one. We have now the whole ticketing industry, which is moving towards NFTs very, very quickly, because the reality is when we talk about the video games, we already use digital assets. We are in all kinds of things in our life. It's just those digital assets are from a database, which someone controls. So we don't have ownership, we don't have this immutability, which is the word we love in the blockchain, because it talks about the fact that nobody can change that except you. So in the ticketing industry, every ticket already is unique. But what if it existed as a digital asset that was more mobile, because I could sell it or send it to someone, or because now I can, that ticket that I bought, well, it actually lets me connect to the website. And when I connect to the website, I can get access to other things because of the fact that I went to this. The fact that if you have a ticket to Non Fungible Conference in your wallet and you want to go to NFT Biarritz in August, they will give you a discount on the NFT Biarritz ticket because you have an NFC ticket in your wallet, and vice versa. That's really fascinating. And it's not because you have to go through some complicated system to verify who owns that or did I blah, blah, blah. It's just because it's in this thing of your wallet that contains everything. Continuing to go down the marketing space, there's just tons of other examples where we see, if we look at the music industry, that's going to be one of the next big ones to really explode, because several of those big artists are working on these digital passes. And imagine music streams. That's how we consume music. We're not going to buy music necessarily unless you like vinyl or things like that. But streaming doesn't pay artists. So imagine, because it will come to you this next year, that one of those favorite big artists wants to sell a digital pass to their next single for $5. And so Taylor Swift or whoever is going to sell you can go to their website or Spotify, and for $5, you're going to buy a pass for that song. But what it's going to get you is, you're going to get to stream that song 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever before anyone else. So people are going to buy early access. Once that time is up, that NFT though is also going to maybe provide 4 other versions that were recorded in the studio, or maybe a live version, maybe access to the video. It's going to get you discounts on the website so that you can buy merchandise. It's going to give you the first in line ticketing for the events. All those things because you've purchased this little pass. Imagine not only the crazy amount of money that an Ed Sheeran or a Taylor Swift is going to make, but imagine that indie band, that independent band that you love that has 10,000 rabid fans that's able to say, hey, buy one of our, every month we're releasing a new song and it's $5. And now every month, 1,000 people, 5,000 people buy that pass. And now independent music, or even the music you hear on the radio or whatever that doesn't make as much money as you think it does, if it's not big enough, again, all of these different ways for people to market through Web3 and create and build that community. All those different pieces are either already here or are coming very quickly. And it's all about this idea how brands or creators can engage with their community through Web3. And that is turning marketing really on its head because it creates an opportunity to build relationships and not just push a message. That's why that's so important, is that we get, you mentioned social media. The issue is I can be on Instagram and some ad will go by of, I don't know what it would be. What would it be? I don't know, like a vacation in Dubai or something. And it's not even a question if I click on it. If I just linger a little too long on that thing going by my feed, for the next week I'm gonna get Dubai ads in my Instagram feed, except I don't care because I don't wanna go. It just happened to be visual enough or something like that. The fact that we can move targeting away from this contextual marketing through those tools that's not necessarily accurate, to being able to look in my wallet and say, gosh, Ethan likes New Balance, so let me show him all those things that because he has way too many different colored pairs of New Balance at home because he likes those things, or he likes this particular band, or he likes this particular other kind of product. He travels a lot, so because of that, we can target him with these other things. But you're targeting me for things that I self-identify as, which we love in marketing. And that is the future of marketing thanks to Web3. We're self-targeting basically because we collect stuff and we want to share that, versus this contextual advertising method where basically we get somehow identified by the algorithm as theoretically liking something and targeted for it, but it's not necessarily true. More importantly, we can't pull that back. I can't tell Instagram, please stop showing me these ads because I really don't care about this subject. Yes, there's a button, but it doesn't really work, not that well. In Web3, I can. Because if I don't want to be targeted for New Balance anymore, I just get rid of the NFTs in my wallet and you will no longer identify me as someone who likes that brand.
Yeah, and from 100% agree with what Ethan's saying, and from the media buyer point of view, so far, the situation, in advertisement, I have a, yeah, I'm back. So you have like, not so many choices, if you want to promote a product. You have Meta, Google, now you have TikTok that came into place, and that's more or less the only thing you can use to touch people. And they are proposing you, let's take Meta, that is the most important one, I believe, some targeting. So, it's targeting based on the way they are browsing on the internet. You don't know exactly, but this is the only thing. And when you are working as a brand, you buy advertisement to these companies. The system. System is a bidding system. So is who's gonna buy the click for the most expensive price on this target. But what happened in the last 10 years is that, of course, when you have a bidding system, at the end of the day, it became the most important tool to make sales. If it means that if you are cutting Facebook, Meta, basically, some companies will not get their sales objective. So when you are in this situation, what do? You increase your bid. And we had a situation where, the algorithm push you to increase your bid until you are at the point where your financial margin is going to zero. Because at the end of the day, it's better to have to do a lot of sales, even if you're not making money, than not selling at all. And because of that, corporates lost relationship with their client. They depend on one third party that are these huge advertisement companies. And so there is a huge risk actually for these companies because it's a margin challenge. And so if they want to go out of this, they will need to recreate the relationship with their client. They will need to become their own ad network. I don't say that it will happen, very fast, but you can imagine that, what this Ethan is describing, this wallet is the key for everything. When you start using a wallet, you understand that it's much more simpler than everything else. It's much more simpler than, checking your face plus checking your ID plus checking if you are old enough to go on this website plus paying with your credit card. You have all of this into the wallet. It's just the proof that it's you. And inside of this, you have also all the proof about who you are. We are talking about brands, and in the future, thanks to that, I will be able to talk more easily to some people different because they collected this piece from this other brand, potentially, or not. And it's already working like this in the Web3 if you consider that all these collectibles are already brands. You can say punks, apes, Adidas, whatever. You have already these brands, and we are already doing. I'm already doing some marketing strategy based on the chain. I already some data. I already have the buying power of my people because I do NFT ticketing. And thanks to NFT ticketing, I have exactly the buying power of all my people because I know their wallet. So I can sell this as an argument, at least for my sponsors. And I can also say, I have more art lovers and game lovers and fashion lovers because they own these assets. And I can also, do some specific campaigns to some different communities because they are added value communities. And so I can do what is, I can create my community based on that. What we did at NFC, we say that if you own the ticket of the first year, because it was the NFT, no, it's the third year we're doing, so each year you have a new NFT. So if you own the first year ticket, you can get your new ticket for free. It's, and this kind of mechanism does not exist, in the real world. And I'm pretty sure that everything we're experimenting now in the Web3, instead of Bored Ape and Adidas, actually, you already have brands. Actually, there are new brands coming, but it will happen for everything. And so this new mechanism, will become one of the key of the marketing, I believe.
Yes, they already told a lot about it. I just want to add some stuff to what Ethan just said. He just pitched the Metafight experience project, so thank you, Ethan. Just to make an example of it, the link between marketing and the community is really important. And for example, with Metafight, we have this Metafight experience where you can buy some event tickets, when you can have some exclusive access. You will also have some opportunities to upgrade your card in-game, for example. So you can tell me, okay, but you can do that in Web 2. Yes, of course you can do that. We know a lot of games that already doing that. But what if you can doing it with the token of the platform? Metafight token, for example, but we are one in a million project in this industry, and this is where Web3 come on the table, and this is when it become very interesting, I think.
All right. We're becoming a bit short of time, so I wanted to add one last question, wrapping up all the others. It's about the market and the adoption of NFTs. Do you have any figures about the market size, the rate of adoption, the number of jobs in this area that we can share? And the second part of the question is, do you think that the potential bull run that we are seeing coming in will have an impact on this market?
just to add one figure though to what he was talking about with the expensiveness of what marketing is right now for companies and primarily ad purchasing on Google and Facebook. You hear startups raise $10 million, startups raised $100 million. You hear these numbers in venture capital that startups raise all this money. Upwards of 1/3 of all venture capital raised goes back to Google and Facebook as ad money. That's a lot of money because that's the only way to grow things. It's the only way to sell things. My e-commerce companies, we spent 10 to 20% of revenue, top revenue, was just on Google ads to be findable when people look for a product. That's expensive because not all products have 10 to 20% margin. So it becomes very curious. So if we look back at where we're at with the numbers, I don't know that I have good numbers of where things are at in terms of growth. I would say the problem we have right now is that even with this newish bull-like run where crypto is doing better, Bitcoin is now up and significantly, and things like Solana and Ethereum are doing very well. The main problem I see is that for most of that, this is, apart from the ETF, these electronically traded funds in the US for Bitcoin, which is what maybe started a lot of this movement, apart from that, we are not talking about new money in crypto. There are not necessarily lots of new people creating wallets and getting some Ethereum or getting some Solana. A lot of this is money that's just been recycling because confidence is now back in these things. But we're getting there. But the problem with that is a lot of the money that came in that really jump-started this was through the fact that the very large investment banks or hedge funds were able to finally invest into Bitcoin through these electronically tradable funds in the US that were just approved in the beginning of the year, which allowed them to invest into crypto without investing into crypto, because an ETF is like a stock in that sense. So it lets them put a lot of capital behind Bitcoin without having to put it through a wallet into Bitcoin. And that's great. That did a lot of good. But when we look at a lot of other things, the money, we're not seeing a ton of new capital yet coming into digital fine art, NFT communities and other things. We're seeing, because the money has come up, people with Bitcoin wealth now have their Bitcoins that were worth 20K are now finally worth 60 or plus or whatever. The Ethereum that people had that in their head was worth 2,000 or 2,500, but it was currently at 1,200 or 1,500 is now up, into more than, now into the threes. And so you get these really interesting things where people are willing to spend that money or because they feel like it's now worth something. So that money is being unlocked and then finding new investment opportunities within crypto, but it's not new money coming in from the outside, which means that for new wallet adoption, new users, we're not really in a bull run in the sense of people really using this thing a lot. What we need is for more people to come in, and that's because Web3 becomes interesting for them in some way. So when Taylor Swift launches a digital music pass, how many millions of wallets will that be? Whenever Spotify and Deezer and other companies put that on their systems, how many more millions of things will that be? Whenever Supercell or one of these other really big game companies takes their digital assets and turns them into tokenized digital assets, so that your Pokemon Go, all that crap that you have in there, because I play Pokemon Go, that still makes $100 million a month, all of that stuff individually is now sellable, transferable, tradable. That will create a massive spike in the amount of wallets that are actually having transaction volume in them, and new money will come into the space. So without being able to give you really good specific details of where we're at, where we are at is that place where we're right before lots of these solutions starting to get deployed to much larger markets, video games, music, and other things. And when that happens, many more wallets will come in, much more capital will come in. Once that happens, it starts to play in the rest of the NFT and Web3 space. Then those people will go, oh, what is this digital art thing? What are these digital communities? I want to buy some of that. Oh, what's that Metafight thing? Oh, that's cool. But they have a wallet because they have a Taylor Swift pass or whatever that is. Like, that's how this goes somewhere. So we're getting there. The bull market will have an influence on that. But I think the real influence is technologically, all of these big platforms are looking to solve problems using Web3 for a non-Web3 audience. And when they do that, all those people come in, the money follows, and that's when all this stuff explodes. I don't know if you agree.
Yes, of course. And in this way, wallet abstraction is the key to mass adoption, of course. And when you're talking about mass adoption, the adoption is when you're using it without even knowing that you're using it. So this is mass adoption. So in a point of view of Bitcoin price, yes, maybe we are in a bull run, but not in the point of view of a newcomer. Actually, we have 600 million crypto owners in the world. This is not so much when we know that we are 8 billion.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the assistance as well. And do you have any question that you would like to ask our speakers?
Yes. I have one question, a very practical question. For you, what is the best way to buy NFTs?
Actually, the best way, right now, the point is that it really depends on what is your own interest first. If you're interested by art, by collectibles, by gaming, it will be a bit different. But I would say that at the end of the day, right now, if you are starting with NFTs, you will need a wallet first, whatever happens.
Of course.
So I think this is the starting point. I would say so far, that the best or maybe the major place, the current ecosystem where things are happening is Magic Eden, basically.
Okay.
So it's a platform.
Like OpenSea?
Hmm?
Or like OpenSea or Blue?
It's like OpenSea, exactly, but it's the OpenSea of 2024, I would say, even if.
Okay.
So that's where things happen right now, because they have multi-chain, so it can be Bitcoin, it can be everything related to Ethereum and other Ethereum layers, or it can be Solana. So the three major chains right now, and they have also their own wallet. And so this wallet is also multi-chain.
Okay.
So with this, you have a kind of simple way to get all the blockchains, all the opportunities. And I believe, if I would start right now, I believe I would spend time on here to see what's going on, because they are onboarding a lot of people. Then about the what to buy and how to buy, it's another question. But I would start here.
Okay.
What's magic?
Hmm?
What's the name of it?
Magic Eden.
Okay, understood.
I also think it's just, I think as a centralized location of all the cool stuff, that's definitely the best place right now. The main issue is, the answer to your question is actually in the question of what NFT do you want to, that is what brings you in. Meaning if you hear Raka speak at something and you're like, I want to get involved in this Metafight thing, well, then you have to go through whatever that is. So, that's, since it's an Ethereum-based thing, then that means you're going to have to deal with MetaMask or Xerion or whatever wallet that you might want to.
Immutable.
Okay, so, but whatever the NFT that you're wanting to buy, that is what's going to tell you what to do. Musée d'Orsay here in Paris last, what was it?
Last month, yeah.
No, but last year for when they did the Starry Night thing from Van Gogh, I think it was November, and they sold these digital collectibles of a version of Starry Night, which is one of their things that they have, but it was the museum that was in the painting. And so for $20, you could buy that NFT, and that NFT would get you, access to the museum, get you a discount in the store, things like that. But interestingly enough, you had to buy it with your credit card. So I couldn't use my crypto for it, and I had to use my email address because the wallet was in their service provider. Now, once that was done, I could go in and I could transfer that NFT into one of my own wallets if I wanted to. But they made it super easy so that anybody who wanted this thing could go to the website, pull out their credit card, and own the NFT. So for me, the answer to the question is, if you get pulled into football cards, then you're going to be on So Rare. and that's just going to be where you're onboarded into this. If you go into a gallery and you find some really incredible digital art, fine digital art, then when you want to buy that thing, well, what do you have to do to buy that thing? Which chain is it? So I think for me that's it. But if you are getting started, Magic Eden is the all-in-one everything great place right now.
Yeah. And if you just want to speculate and make money, be super careful. But don't invest so much right now. There are a lot of, most of the people who started with this, they are doing what, they are working for airdrops basically, and this is what I will do if I would start right now. Just discover the good services, trying to see and make your first dollars with some airdrops by checking what are the new services and try to use them. And the more new services you use, the more opportunities of getting free coins will fall into your wallet. And especially for students, this is what I would recommend so far.
Okay, thank you for
Non-financial advice.
This is why airdrop is okay. Even if it's risky, even that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do you think that we will experience the same kind of bull run about the NFT ecosystem, like that we have experienced before, the same bull run?
Yeah, sorry, can you
Like, do you think that we will experience the same?
Will we have the same?
Yeah,
you
the
tell me
same.
in terms of quantity, of volume, of
Things of volume, price, speculation.
Yeah, if I would know that, maybe I would be billionaire right now. And nobody knows. I can only believe, and I have a quite confidence that I believe in like a kind of in cycles. So if you believe in cycles and you try to reproduce more or less what happened in the previous cycle, in 21 and in 2017, 18, and the cycle before, you can expect that you could believe that you are not on the top of the cycle right now. This is what you can believe if you follow this theory. And I have pretty good optimism on what's going to happen in 2024. But then, where it's going to be, we are seeing that right now it's not really into Ethereum NFTs, for example. It's not really in the Ethereum ecosystem even. It's more, shitcoins on Solana, or like ordinals on Bitcoins. This is where you see the innovations right now, and they are reproducing more or less what happened actually in the last cycle. If you check what's going on ordinals, it's very, very close to what happened on NFTs in 21. A lot of project collections, PFPs, a lot of money coming from the Bitcoin people here, and a lot of strong community effect. In 2021, everybody in the Ethereum world was saying, "WAGMI, we're all gonna make it." And you have this kind of new spirit that is now with the new ordinals ecosystem, where we're gonna all together with the Bitcoin, we bring the Bitcoin ecosystem to the top. And in the meme coins, you have kind of this philosophy also. All of them are kind of fighting together. You have this community effect here also, and so I believe we'll see what's going on. I really believe that also NFTs will have a cycle later this year, but maybe not the one you believe in. Maybe not the one. Maybe not the old ones. Maybe it's going to be new ones. Some of the old ones will stay, but not all of them for sure.
Last question: do you think that the future of NFTs will be more on the Solana ecosystem or ordinals ecosystem than the Ethereum ecosystem?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I believe that there will be several ecosystems. I believe in the Solana ecosystem. I think it's for entrepreneurs right now. It's offering something interesting. But the Ethereum ecosystem is strong right now. Even on layer 2s, you have a lot of things happening right now, and it's super strong. So, and then on the Bitcoin, yeah, I think all of them have something to play and will stay, whatever happen in the future by different ways.
So hi, welcome. It was very interesting. So I just have a question about raising startups. So as we experience like the different, very complicated period of bear market, are you really seeing rising in startups, in crypto startups, blockchain startup, and so on? Because like you are the at the top level of the ecosystem, because you are founders of some the biggest crypto companies, co-founder of Web3 Talent Fair, etc., Metafight, and so on. So are you really seeing like an escalation of raising in startups?
That's a great question, because it was actually what I wanted to add onto what he said, which is I don't know about the speculative side of crypto and NFTs, because if we could predict that, we'll make even more money than hopefully we're making with it. But I do think there's a lot of movement there, and that's interesting. But if we define this as the future of marketing in terms of brand marketing and community engagement, the fact that ticketing is all going to go NFT, that musicians engaging with their community is all going to go through Web3 and NFTs. If we look at the art world and that the fine art world, especially fine digital art, with in the next 10 years to be $1 trillion asset class, to look at these kind of things as we see these things going in a question of pure crypto topics, I don't know. But on a question of startups and things to build, we're at the beginning. It's all left to be built. You might think that you missed out because you didn't mint a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape 3 or 4 years ago. Fine, you missed one phase of this, but it is all being done now. We're at maybe 50 million wallets that are active in the world with people using them. Maybe, and I still think that's a high number. So the reality is we still got 8 billion people out there that will come into this. But what happens when a college like this, all of the people who graduate with business degrees get an NFT of their degree because it provides value? Well, that's X amount of new people in Web3. And we're going to see that as a domino thing, where all of these different use cases are going to show up over the next 2 to 4 years, one after another at the same time. More and more people using this for one reason, but then using it for another reason, then using it for another reason, and these wallets start to be used more. And so the answer to your question for startups is, this is the perfect time to be solving problems using Web3, because it's all left to be built, no matter what's already been built. Fine, So Rare has built a massive company around digital trading cards for sports and engagement with that. That doesn't mean somebody else can't come in and find some other really cool way to do that, because they also did the really hard work of teaching people in the MMA space in this kind of world that Web3 matters. Well, once they get done doing that and they've done something really cool and successful, somebody else could come along and build something else in that world and benefit from the fact that they've opened up that opportunity. So in startups, the reality is most of the big successes have just kind of opened up the opportunity. But as we see with innovation in startups historically, there's a company that makes the big thing. So yeah, fine, Amazon, it's the biggie. But how many other billions of dollars are made in every single major market in the West, the US, Canada, France, Germany, UK, wherever, from other e-commerce players? Web3 is going to be the exact same thing. Fine, maybe you won't be Bored Apes, but you can be Pudgy Penguins. And then Pudgy Penguins catches up and passes Bored Apes. Like, that kind of stuff, or in all these other places. To me, that's super optimistic that we're going in the right direction and all the opportunities really to be made. It might not be pure crypto, it might not be pure blockchain. It's just simply about solving real problems that we have in innovation using new tools.
So I just want to tie it up with the notion of the future of work. So does it mean that, for instance, we've been speaking now about collectibles, that if we look into the creators economy, and if we transfer it to the future of work, would it mean that, for instance, it would be the valorization of the experience. For instance, you would be working in an environment in a company, and you would be tokenizing your own. Let's say you're overperforming on your best campaigns. You tokenize them, and this is what you could be bringing to another group. Because currently, when you work in a group, you can be the best in class. When you leave everything behind. And maybe you would like to have your own track records when you move to another company and you arrive with that leverage. Obviously, you're hired because of that. They know your track record, so they fetch you.
So the question was, with creator economy and the future of work, imagine a time where all the work that you're doing at a company could be tokenized and measured.
Or that you could, and that you would have your own, exactly like the notion of transferability of the networks. You have your own network. It doesn't depend on, let's say, Meta also, because you can transfer it. You can, so you're not transferred yet. You own your network.
Right.
That would be the same. You would be owning the history, your own history of work experience.
I'm not sure that
Bring it with you around.
you might have something you want to say to that. I'm not sure if I would use the word ownership in that case, because as an employee of a company, you don't own that work. It's a work for hire. You're paid to produce the work, but you would be attached to the work in a way that maybe you aren't now, like being a writer on a paper, like a scientific submission or something like that, where at least your name is attached to the work because you were a contributor to it.
You could prove that you've done it. That you did
That's
it.
potentially measurable and really interesting. A little bit outside of my space, maybe but John?
Yeah, a lot of things would be possible. I had some ideas for this. It's more like,
LinkedIn, for instance.
no, I mean, to be honest, I believe that DAOs, a decentralized autonomous organization, are a huge way of experimentation for the future of work. And I think, that even if so far it's not so mature, I really believe that, the fact that the hierarchy, it's all the thing about getting validation, not only by your boss, but also by your peers, and have something based on that, where you collect tokens from your peers based on what you deliver to them, could be something that you could keep, from company to company, or maybe in the future, in the same time, different companies, because this is how the future of work will be also.
I would say, though, outside of a corporate situation, this does exist already, because if you're creating a community project for NFTs, for example, like one of these animal communities that you see with whatever that might be, the reality is, because of smart contracts, the thing that enables this all to work, the fact that you can, a smart contract is the idea that you, like on Ethereum, it's not just that you can put a transaction in the blockchain, you can actually put code into the blockchain. And so the idea being, and this is where this gets fun for musicians, it gets fun for artists and everything. If you create an NFT series of pictures, so a community thing like Bored Apes, well, the reality is the founders, the entrepreneurs can have a percentage of every time that thing is resold or every time it's whatever, you can code that into the smart contract, more or less. I'm making broad strokes here, but of the idea that the artist could always get 1%, or the marketing person could always get 2%, or like you can code that into these things. So imagine a musician now that comes out, Ed Sheeran has a new single, but actually behind the scenes, most people don't know it, but the producer's always getting a piece of all the revenue, the mixing engineer's always getting a piece of the revenue, all the different people in the process potentially are involved also on a commission base, but it's all it's all Excel sheets and hand measured. But imagine that the next song that comes out.
It's postponed payment.
Yeah, and really long payments and lots of fun accounting, and maybe not necessarily trustworthy because there's no transparency to it. So without it being the exact answer to what you're saying, the reality is, moving forward, when several people work together on a project, the ability to code not only their contribution into the project, but also potentially a commission in the sense of them owning part of that project, already exists, and we already see it. That's something that can already be done. You're taking that another level maybe towards corporate work, but why not, depending on what was being created?
Well, I propose that we continue the discussion after the event. I've been very happy to welcome you here. Thank you very much for this presentation of the NFT creators economy. We can see that the adoption is going up. We can see that it's becoming more and more easy to use those tools, that it's been very useful to run a community, to get some new kind of marketing strategy, and that everything is to be created yet, even though there is already a lot of activity, but there's so much more to do. Thank you very much for being there. I wish you a good evening.